was it 3-2? You know.
Okay. I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Tuxedo Union Free School District on this Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather Kidder,
Present.
Alyssa Horner,
Here.
Kimberly Breland. Here. Dan Castricone,
Here.
William Clark,
Here.
Bill Givens,
Here.
and Gary Hefner on his way. A quorum is present.
Gary just texted me. He's on his way. Go ahead and start.
Okay, great. So Gary will join us in a few. May I have a motion for the approval of the April meeting minutes?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the next item on the agenda is to finalize the budget vote and election. Do I have a motion?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I was distracted. I didn't hear what you said.
Yes. I have, on the next item is, I'm sorry, the next item is the appointment of the election inspector. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Is it normal for that to be done after the election?
I was
thinking the same thing.
What happened was.
Just more of a curiosity.
It was an oversight, and what happened was when we had to add additional poll workers, because we had to take a couple off because of conflicts, we realized that we didn't have that on last month's agenda. We spoke to the attorney, it was okay to put it on.
Perfect.
So it was definitely oversight on my side.
Thank you.
Can you guys?
So typically, it would be in April.
I guess she wasn't qualified this cycle.
I don't want that.
Okay, great. Okay. So then the next item on the agenda is 2.2, the certification
Yep.
of the budget, vote, and election results. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay,
Discussion.
okay.
I received many emails today about the way there were 2 poll workers here in the building, and people felt intimidated, frustrated, and apparently at one point a commotion happened, and I really don't know what happened. So I think when we have voters...
Poll workers or poll watchers?
Poll watchers.
Okay.
So when we have... and then somebody else sent into the Board of Education saying that these poll watchers should actually not have been poll watchers. I really don't know what the story is, but ethically, it looks terrible that we have 2 people that are running for a seat on the board standing in here with a clipboard writing down who's walking in and walking out. That's a terrible look, and it intimidates people. And I think that we need to look ahead in the future and make a policy that this cannot happen again, because many people were upset. And to the point where now they're asking, and so I'm going to go this road, they are asking for a double check on all the ballots that were handed in and not done in the machine, that if we could just verify that. So I am going to vote no on this until we could just get a double check that everything is legitimate, because I need to represent the people that voted me in. And there were a pretty big group of outraged people, to the point where they're asking me about the high school now.
Just a point of order. Is there any rules that dictate when the board actually has to certify the election? Like, are we under some sort of time crunch here?
Only if there were more than one polling site. If there was more than one polling site, which is just about everywhere else I've been, you'd have to have them certified within 48 hours. But in a district that just has one polling site, there's no, you could do it, you could do it next month, whatever, next week, next month, tomorrow, whatever. There's not a 48-hour limit like there is with multiple polling sites.
Thank you.
It's good to know, Kimberly, that you had heard from the public, because I also had heard from 2 people about the conduct of who was in the room when they were voting. So I also had heard that today, this
I did
morning.
as well.
Yeah.
I'm unsure, but I know that there are rules, I don't know them off the top of my head, about who actually is entitled to call for a recount. And I don't believe that you would be
I'm
on
not
that
asking
list.
for a recount.
Well, that's
I'm
what you just asked for.
No, I'm
You're asking for a
that it be
recanvassing.
certified that it's actually those names on those ballots are real voters.
Valid.
I'm not I don't know.
Each one of those
What it is.
was reviewed by the district clerk, right? You look at the address, you look at the signature, you make sure that they're on the list.
No, the district clerk does not. The district clerk receives them up until 5 PM that day. I have to just log them in that I received them by that day. I can't accept anything after 5 o'clock. I don't sit there validating signatures, no.
Not signatures, just the addresses that the people are actually on the list.
Well, yeah, that's how when I log them in, yes.
Yeah.
But not signatures. no.
So there's no mechanism to go back and, unless someone wants to bring a lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a mechanism,
Yeah, it's a lawsuit.
Article 78.
Yeah.
What if it goes to tomorrow?
What you're asking for, you'd need to file a suit for. And, secondly, I know that the plan, at least as far as I know, and perhaps Gary would speak to this better, was not for at least one of those people to be here, but to have a representative here who was unable to stand for the 7 hours that it would have taken. So that person had to leave. With this new, let's rearrange the room, not put out any tables for anybody to sit at, and everybody go stand in the corner or figure out what you're going to do. In the time that I've lived in Tuxedo, I actually, whether I'm on the ballot or not, I look forward to coming in and voting. And it's a time when I see my neighbors, see people that I haven't seen in a long time. I had several great conversations in the room. It's not, this is not Bush versus Gore here. This is Tuxedo.
Yeah,
We ought to be able to
Dan,
wander in here
When you
and,
come in to vote, this is not a social gathering where you should be meeting
Well,
your neighbors
I let you
and having
finish
great
without cutting you off.
conversation.
I didn't interrupt you at all, even
Okay.
though I thought what you were saying was, well, let me not go there. So, in my opinion, what we did to spring this on the public yesterday, with rearranging the room after the way it's always been, not allowing a place for anybody to sit down, you should anticipate that there are going to be issues and problems. And I had asked at the last meeting that we not do anything in changing the way that we run the elections or do anything with the elections without having a conversation with all of us first. When we talked about not being able to download the petitions off of the website, that please, the election is a hot stove. Let's not touch it. Let's all talk about it before we make any changes. And when folks came in yesterday, of course, everything was changed.
Dan?
Yeah.
I'd like to also add that when you say that you didn't know in advance, in the meeting prior to when you said that changes were made without your knowledge, that was included in the board packet the previous month. That was in there. And I'm happy to share that with you.
Great.
I'll share with you. The board approved, it was a part of the notice, and that was all in there, so happy to share that with you, so that's not accurate. The other thing I just want to point out, it was seats were provided for poll watchers yesterday, just not tables. Just to be, not,
That's untrue.
no, it's not.
Untrue. My poll watcher was my teenage son who had major ankle surgery a year ago. On the way here, we were told, you get no table, you get no chairs. It was his first chance to participate in the political process. He was looking forward to it. But based on an email that I got from Heather Kitty and Alyssa, It said, starting this year, I'll quote it.
Not say no chairs.
Dan said we should have courtesy of a table. We got here and we're told you get no table and chair. I actually took my 19-year-old poll watcher who was upset home to get a table and a chair because we were told no table and chairs. You have to stand for 7 hours. One poll watcher of mine eventually stood in that corner for a long time. Another poll watcher of mine stood here for a while. Eventually, they're not here because they're not that comfortable, but eventually, like workshop bent stools were provided. I didn't think they were appropriate for elderly people or people with
So seats were provided, you're saying?
eventually.
Nope,
No, we were told,
but you just said there were no seats.
when, Jeff, to be clear, okay, I'm speaking now. Factually, the poll watchers are allowed to be here at 1:45, fact. At 1:45, they were told, no seats, no chairs. Sometime before, during that time, I went back and got here, and eventually, I saw it happen. I saw people standing here. I came in after I got my own table and chair from home, and I saw people standing in the corner. And I said, what's going on? And after some time passed, stools were provided. Regardless of that, to be clear, you two broke the practice of decades without any talking to anybody, right? Let's say it's tables alone. You change the process. So when you come in here, the officer had a place to sit and rest, put his stuff. The people over there, the people over there, administrators who are not election officials, who shouldn't be on their phone in the building, right? There's a district clerk and there's people paid. We're gonna talk about those people. They're on the agenda. Those are the people. They all had tables and chairs. People who just came to watch had tables and chairs. The officer, table and chairs. The poll workers got tables and chairs. Everybody, like they always did for 40 years, had tables and chairs, except my poll watcher, who skipped the beginning because they went home upset to get their own table and chair. So you can say what you want. Those are the facts. Sorry I'm late. I told you with the time change it would be close.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can get here on time. Where are we on the agenda? Is there a motion pending?
We-
In discussion of item 2.2.
Is there a motion pending?
It's to, I motion to approve the results of the election, to certify them.
I'm sorry. I
There's
just
been
got
a
here. Is there
second, and now we're in discussion.
Okay, got it. So is there a lawsuit being filed? I heard about a lawsuit.
I never mentioned a
No one
lawsuit.
said anything about a lawsuit.
That's when I walked in.
Dan might have said something.
Okay.
Yes, no,
He
there was
said
a
that's the
request
only
to have
way
a
that you can
recanvass.
double check and see if signatures are true signatures.
I do know that some residents have made complaints with the Orange County Board of Elections because candidates were in the room and people felt intimidated. People walk in, I was told they got the crook eye. I wasn't here, I didn't have a poll watcher, I didn't feel the need to have a poll watcher, but
To be honest,
frankly, had I known
To be
that,
honest, I
that candidates
discount-
would be in the room, hold on, I was
I'm
talking.
sorry.
Had I known that other candidates would be in the room doing that, I would have felt compelled to have a poll watcher. And maybe I would have had another candidate cross-certify me as their poll watcher, which is
I would have certified.
kind of odd.
Okay, got it. I just want to be clear that, to be honest, we're official body here. I discount anonymous complaints. Heather's email said about there were complaints in the past. Unless somebody has a name and a date and an allegation saying an anonymous person complained to my roommate who told my cousin's brother that someone looked at them funny, to be honest, we shouldn't waste our times. So if there's no official complaints, I don't care who thinks something happened, because the clerk was here, the clerk can tell us, were there any irregularities in the voting?
I'm sorry.
You're in charge. You have any problems?
Through the election?
Yeah.
I don't know that there were, I mean, there,
Well, we're talking about
Were
things that
there
don't matter.
complaints made? Is that what you're
No,
asking?
you're in charge of the election. Did you note any irregularities?
The only thing I've done so far, Gary, is accept them as they were counted and put them on the ballot as I was instructed to do. Everything is locked in a box. Nothing has gone any further.
I'm not talking about the ballots per se. I'm saying you were here from 1:45 to 10:30. Did you note any improper activities.
Just a few complaints regarding,
No,
Yeah.
I'm asking if you saw.
that's an irregularity, I mean, that's.
No, I'm asking if you witnessed. You're the boss.
I actually did, yes.
What did you say?
I had two people come up to me directly and say, one, actually three, because one was a poll worker, came over to me, felt intimidated, felt threatened, and felt very uncomfortable being here, and also having two poll watchers on opposite ends of the building, or even just in here, especially since they were candidates. They were very uncomfortable with the whole situation.
Who picked the locations for the poll watchers?
I had to, because I had to
Okay,
separate.
so
Yes.
did the poll watchers
It
go
had
when you told them
nothing to
to?
do with, it was the whole concept of.
They don't
the
like poll watchers.
Gary,
people-
Gary,
As
this
candidates,
isn't
we
cool.
have to
This
stop.
This isn't
very
cool.
cool.
You sat in a polling place staring at voters as they came in.
Didn't stare at anybody.
Okay.
That's-
You sat at a
Tell me
polling.
one. That's-
I got that stare as I was in here with my family, and it was commented on of like, oh, someone doesn't
Gary,
like you in the
I got some
room,
complaints
so-
about your behavior.
On my behavior? Okay. I would like to hear. If somebody felt intimidated, I would apologize, but for someone to say, I don't like the idea of poll watchers,
Nobody is saying
No,
that.
no one's saying that.
No one's saying
Uh,
that.
ca-
What
candidates-
is
Well,
being
as-
said and
and
I
what is
wouldn't be
being
a poll watcher
complained
if I
on.
turned to face the corner.
What's being complained about is the conduct. And whether it changed or not, the fact is, we're talking about it now because the conduct is completely unprofessional. Now,
No.
it comes down to what is within legal bounds, poll watchers, who can be poll watchers, who can be certified. That's the stuff that we need to relook at potentially. Whether there's tables or chairs, listen, if there is an accessibility issue, if there is a health issue, then that can be adjusted for. However, the conduct of our elections, just because we have done it a certain way in Tuxedo for years and years and years, does not mean it's the right way to do something. And it's not just, okay, well, we've done it forever, so let's do it this way. Because this is not the first year that people come in here intimidated because people are staring them down or people are texting on their phone to come in and vote. Okay, let's just put it out there, okay? So that's what the complaints were for. I believe that's what you were bringing up in terms of there have been complaints with you. I heard from two people today. So that's, I think, just what Kimberly was saying.
Well, it doesn't help that Meg Vaught and TPFYI continue to put false legal conclusions on the website, which I believe led to me being threatened as a poll watcher yesterday, where I had to have the cops engage
I
somebody.
know she-
So based on all that activity, I was actually threatened as a poll watcher. Because of people saying, well, I heard this and I heard that, and I think the law is this, or Meg Vaught told me the law is this.
Again,
Right.
the whole protocol
Right.
of how we do things is broken. So we have to change it.
So-
Change has to happen.
If I might, because there was a lot of confusion, there's the state election laws, and then there's the county election laws, and then there's education law. In state education law, having a candidate be a poll watcher is illegal. Having the family member of a candidate is illegal. According to county law, Orange County law, it's the same thing. However, the state education law is volumes of books. The education law is just a few paragraphs. It's not very lengthy, and it doesn't prohibit that. But I think there was a lot of confusion among the community because people have been involved in county, town, village elections, so they all knew different aspects of the law. But under the education law, it's not prohibited, but it is prohibited at the state and county levels because of what happens like here.
I suspected, I mean, hey, it harkens back to, you know, the Soviet Union and everything else, where the party guy was there watching how people vote.
Well,
It is
to be
intimidating.
clear,
Hold
voting
on, I
free.
was talking.
No, but you can't
and
say
there-
stuff like
but
that.
no,
Bill, no, you
I
can't.
can say what I want.
But you can't say.
Hold on,
we
you
attempt-
can correct my
there's correct-
facts, you can't correct my opinions,
Okay.
period.
Okay, so go
Okay?
ahead.
So, hey, I suspect there's a reason why the state put that in state law and the county decided to put it in county law, because voters don't like it. It's a terrible look. And there's a reason why, frankly, this school has a credibility issue and this board has a credibility issue, because this kind of nonsense goes on. You and Bonnie took what was otherwise, what frankly I feel is probably a great victory for you guys. You made your case, you most likely won the election once this is certified, and you put a taint on it. Like, why would you do that?
Well,
It's just poor judgment. And I wasn't gonna get into this here. It's disappointing. You know, I'm not gonna contest anything because I'm just not going to, and that's not who I am. But it's incredibly disappointing that you felt that necessary. Get an independent poll watcher, put him in there if you're concerned about the process. Don't sit there and stare in every voter that comes in, write down on the clipboard when they walk in the door. People don't like it, it's a terrible look.
Okay, a couple things to correct you. I had an independent poll watcher, was upset and concerned and eventually left, so I took over. Second, I had no clipboard, I had no papers, I left my phone in the car, so.
But you
I
just
was-
mentioned that independent poll worker was your son, correct?
Correct?
New York
Which is
State, I
also
don't think New York State.
illegal
Oh,
within
just,
county and
just
state
another
law.
point of clarification. At the state law and the county law, all poll watchers are pre-approved by, in this case, it would be the head of the committee, and it would be done in advance. Just saying, if you want to put a policy in the future, or if someone wants to petition the commissioner that they should clarify the education law to put these rules in there, usually it's done in advance, so everybody knows who's who, and it's not dropped on them at the last minute, and it's in advance, and it's approved by the head of the committee or board.
So the allegation is when I filled in for my son, I somehow had X-ray.
No one's making any allegation. I'm not. I'm just clarifying things, Gary.
There's clearly people
There's-
said I've heard
I'm
things
not,
I've
cla-
heard. You're
just,
not.
just, got- oh,
You're-
I'm just providing clarity because there's so much in the community right now. There's so many people asking questions, so I'm just trying to clarify things. Another thing I just want to clarify
But
is,
you were-
in this case, Dan, there won't be, it's not a lawsuit. The education law requires that only the Commissioner of Education can overturn that. So that's not necessarily going to go to court. It goes to the Commissioner of Education. And the Commissioner of Education can issue either a stay or, to make things go quicker or to stop something from occurring. But only the Commissioner can overturn or, demand another election or any of that. So that would be the procedure. It has to go to the state education.
I think Jeff, I think, not intentionally, but I think you were a little bit confusing because you said it violates state law, violates county law, but not education. But the only law that we follow is the education law.
No, I don't mean to be confusing. What I'm trying to say is,
Where any law
there's
broken.
state law, there's county law, and there's education law.
Which ones do we
And,
go by?
well, we follow education law, right? But what I'm saying is, this is why people are confused, because they have been involved in other elections, so they were bringing it to our attention, wait, this isn't proper. And they would hand us a copy of the state election law or the county law and say, how is this going on? It's not proper. People don't understand that we're under education law, so we follow that. But the state and the county put those things in place to avoid what we're going through right now. So we do follow ed law, so I want to be clear about that so that everybody in the community understands what took place. And I'm just clarifying that if there is a challenge, it would go to the Commissioner of Education.
And my other point was, not only did I not have a phone, didn't have any paper whatsoever, I sat exactly where I was told, facing the way I was told. You actually said I could move the podium, but I felt it was better behind it, to have like a piece of furniture in front of me. And I do not have X-ray vision, so of all the votes that happened yesterday, I do not know if people had blank ballots, if they voted for me, if they voted for somebody else. I did not see a single ballot. I didn't try to see a single ballot. I couldn't see what was going on behind the curtains. I
Yep.
couldn't see it as I went in. I didn't see a single ballot. I made eye contact with people who said, "Hi, Gary," and of course, the one person who threatened me as well.
Okay.
A couple people came to me, and I said, "I can't talk to you."
Someone threatened you, okay. Just to address.
Police were involved in that.
Okay, to address further, because of complaints in the past, the clerk had called up the district's legal counsel, and she explained what happened in the past, because there were complaints to her last year, and it was her first year here, and it was her first year as a district clerk. According to the legal counsel, she said what was done in the past was improper and wrong. She said, when you don't want a challenge to the election, you have to address the complaints. And she said that if what was going on in the past was distracting to the poll workers, if it in any way presented itself as electioneering, or in any way was created an intimidating environment, then it couldn't be done. So as a result of that, I think the district clerk did a very nice job, the way she arranged it. Again, and no offense to anybody, I'm just clarifying things, and I understand, Dan, there's a long practice and of way things have been done here, but the way the attorney presented it is, this is a polling place, and that's all it should be here for. And so she said there should be, if there's poll watchers, they should not be in the midst of things, they should be apart, and they were provided stools and not tables, because we didn't want anyone with, and cell phones were prohibited use as well, because, except by the election workers, because we didn't want people texting people or calling people and electioneering. So that's why everything was done the way it was. I actually thought it was done very nicely. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. I was a district clerk myself at some point, and I think she did a great job. And thank you, Chris. I think you did very well.
I actually concur, because I sat here
agree.
for a long time, and there were issues that I could see.
Yeah.
As a poll watcher, I'm looking for issues. That's
Yep.
exactly what the job is supposed to do. I'm supposed to be watching people walking in. I'm supposed to be watching people checking in. I'm supposed to be watching people at the table getting their ballots. I'm supposed to be watching people
Right.
go into the booth, making sure they're going in one by one, nothing looks funky. And there were a couple issues that came up, and I think you did a pretty good job. You handled it well. So for people to come in and say anonymously, somebody said they're intimidated, again, I don't respond to anonymous BS.
So I understand.
Hold on, no one came to me anonymously. People came to me and I knew who
Do
they
they come
were.
to me? Do they come to me?
Yeah.
Why would they come to you?
I don't know. If
So-
someone, they
so-
saw a police officer,
so-
why don't they go to the police officer?
So, folks, I have to say to you, I've been here 3 years now. There's a big issue here, a very big issue, and I recommend, and for your acceptance, I would suggest that we have more board retreats to discuss some of these things. A big problem that I see in this district is fear of and reluctance to change. And, well, we have always done it this way is something I hear multiple times every day. And anybody who comes here to introduce change automatically becomes the enemy. And we have to get them. And this isn't the way it should be. The world's changing, and we have to change. And we have to be proper, and we have to show propriety. We're introducing social emotional learning to the kids. We're trying to teach them how to get along better because society is torn apart. And yet we're doing the exact opposite of what we're expecting them to learn. So my thing is, and I apologize to the community if it's change and they didn't like some of the stuff that took place yesterday, but we have to change. And we have to have appropriateness here. We have to have propriety. We have to run elections very cleanly. We're seeing nationally, in the state elections, the local elections, there's fraud. But we have to grassroots this thing up and show that we don't run it that way. So I think she did a great job,
I agree.
okay?
I agree,
My
and I had
experience
to my
yesterday
email.
was one of the worst experiences I've had in the last 10 years. I was threatened. I was accused of many things.
But
you,
not by
you,
us, Gary.
by-
And I'm sorry
by-
that happened to you. And by
No,
the
no, I
way,
was going
just
to
so
a
you
point.
know, that's why we had the police
Right.
here in case it got
My point
contentious.
was, we should find out from legal counsel if we're allowed to prohibit poll watchers in the future. That would solve the
We
problem.
can have poll
I don't
watchers,
think the
just
issues
not
of poll watchers, and I actually
people running for the
encourage
seat.
that practice. If you are a candidate and you want to make sure that the process is done correctly, because you want to make sure. The issue is the fine line of who is the poll watcher and how are they connected to candidates.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We can either follow the law or we can make our own rules.
We can make a
As counsel.
policy, as
Right.
Jeff
We
mentioned,
can
as
ask
to like,
counsel
we
if
have to
can-
get
So-
pre-approval of
Change
who
the
your
law.
poll watchers are.
Gary-
I think Chris
I'm
did a great
sorry.
job, and to my email to the board prior, change was good. Not having the tables was good. Not having it be a social event is good. This is a place you vote. This is a place you come in. This is a place you are, yes, a part of a community, but you're here to vote. If you want to meet neighbors and do that, it was a beautiful day outside. Take a step outside, enjoy the fresh air, and talk to your neighbors. We need to be more professional in these things.
And we have to accept change. Gary, we just had a conversation, you weren't here for it, where I was being asked about the enrollment projections for next year. We're going to drop below 200 next year, okay? And what we're hoping for is Tuxedo Farms is going to come in. It's going to double the size of the community. It's approximately 1,600 homes. There is a significant number of people in this community who choose to send their kids to the private schools. For this to remain as a viable school district, we have to have those students that are going to be moving in participate in the school here. And the only way we're going to do that, if we're going to be fighting all the time and churn and burn with people, we're not going to be attracting them. They're going to come here and they're going to put kids in private schools. So I hope we can solve all this civilly with each other, not raising voices, come up with policies that make sense. I'm happy to have some board retreats and we can spend more time on it. Happy to do that if you guys want me to spearhead that. Does that sound good?
I appreciate what you're saying, Jeff, I do. Can we go back to the motion so we can get this meeting rolling?
Sure.
There's a motion on the floor to certify the election. There's been a second. Is there any more discussion?
In order for what Kimberly's asking to do in terms of rechecking, recounting, revoting suits, what would be the process?
So basically, somebody will have to contest, and then basically I have to then, the box is already sealed up. I can't touch it. It's the commissioner's hands now. So whomever has any complaint or wants to go forward with anything, there's and I can share it, there's a website that you have to not log on to, but go on to, download the application, fill it out, submit it to the commissioner, and then they'll go from there, whether it's to validate
And
it or verify it or
our
whatever.
certifying this election will not
Doesn't do
stop anybody from doing that.
No.
No.
And Chris, just so everybody can feel comfortable, you boxed everything up as you received it and sent it off. You brought it down yourself, actually, so it never left your hands.
Nope.
And you brought it down to the Commissioner of Elections for Orange County in Goshen.
The ballots, so the machines, all their stuff went back to Orange County. Our ballots and our absentee, as well as our machine ballots, are locked in our own box. We keep those.
Okay.
They don't go to Orange County. We keep them. I take them off here.
But it's locked?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're sealed.
So if I certify, then a member from so if we certify and the whole thing goes, then a member from the community can still go ahead and do what they want to.
They have like five,
Still.
I think it's 5 days.
Anybody with standing, I don't know what standing, I don't have the law in front of me, whether it's a candidate, whether it's a voter, whether it's
A registered
anybody.
voter.
Taxpayer.
Yeah, taxpayer, I don't know what the standing requirement is.
Well, on the commissioner's website, it said a registered voter.
Okay, so that's,
So if the board decides to certify this tonight, the commissioner can still overrule it. The commissioner can throw it out. The commissioner can say everything is good. It stays as it is. Can issue a stay. It's all up to the Commissioner of Education.
Okay, so it's on those people that had contacted us to take action.
But if I remember what I heard, we're under no pressure to do it, and I query whether the commissioner will take into account whether or not the board has actually certified the election when they make a determination.
That I don't
know what the answer to
that I don't know,
No
Bill.
one here knows what the
I
answer
don't.
is.
I can find out. But again, you're under no pressure. If it's multiple election places, it's 48 hours. Since we're one, there's none.
Yeah. Is there a downside to us postponing
Till the next meeting?
just that we gotta go back.
You know, from our perspective, there's not, but it's up to you guys.
The box still stays sealed, like nothing happens on my end, so it's up to the board.
Can we just approve the budget and the three,
Props.
No,
those?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
why
not-
can't we separate
Well, the
those?
only way we can do
because
that.
it's
if I
either the
may,
election or not the election.
we
The ballots
can
are either good or they're not good.
amend The
got
agenda
you.
and separate the items and make,
I
No,
can,
but, no,
Point
but
one, 2.2.
Dan just is right.
I can check with legal counsel if you want an answer to that. It's up to you.
Well, it
No,
makes
but
sense,
Dan
because
makes sense.
if you have a ballot that you've approved and counted within the count, and you count the counts for the props and the budget, but then you don't want to count it for the candidate,
You
it's
can't
gonna-
do that.
You can't,
Right,
like,
so
it's
Dan is
tied,
right.
Right, if it's invalid, it should be invalid for all, so we have
Right,
accurate counts for
exactly,
elections going
exactly.
forward.
You know what I was whispering to you last night? That was a joke, right? 'Cause I
What'd
lied.
you wish it really?
Well, I would
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, that's what I said.
Oh, yeah, no, I heard.
But you were like, good, didn't have a response. So I was like,
the budget so that we can get moving.
I texted her.
I know you
I
wanted to.
texted her. Can you certify the budget? Not
but you didn't like respond. I was like, wait.
Yes, no, she said you can.
I'm not sure I caught it.
Okay.
I said, can you certify the budget, not the candidate? She wrote yes. If you like, I can call her. Driving the
But
car.
I'm telling you,
That does-
damn,
makes no
damn
sense.
sounds right.
weird. Yeah, that's
Damn sounds
weird.
right.
This is
Yeah.
the district's legal counsel. You want me to call her?
So we're gonna certify the votes that we like, because we want the budget to pass.
Dan?
But not certify the votes that we don't like.
I'm just answering a question that was posed to me.
That
You
makes
I
guys,
no
wasn't
sense.
advocating for splitting anything up.
Yeah, no.
No, I was
thinking-
just
I was just
asking if
making
you
the
could.
point.
Well, let's.
But my understanding is
I-
we're under no
I'm not
pressure to
telling you,
certify the vote.
I'm not telling you what to do either way. You asked a question, and I'm just
Yeah, he was
answering your question
I
according
think
to
it
legal
makes sense to-
counsel.
Even if it is legal, I feel like
I
for
will-
record keeping, we
It-
want to keep everything.
If you're not going to certify, I would just say certifying, we want to get the budget certified for that man back there who wants to start issuing purchase orders
I want that dearly.
and capital projects, because we can't move forward sending anything to SED without that. That's that. I would just want you to consider everything. Whatever you
Yeah.
decide is fine with me. But I'm just saying that, we do want to move forward with, our spending. We want to be ordering textbooks and everything well before June. So just think about that when you make up whatever decision it is you want to make. And if you like, I can call Margot. I told her and David couldn't be here tonight, if he could be available, because we have other things to discuss.
David's watching hockey.
I don't think it's as good as that, Dan. I think he's suffering in negotiation somewhere.
Okay, so we've had discussion, we have a motion, we have a second. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to move it to a vote. All in favor of certifying the election results?
Aye.
Do we want to go roll call?
Whatever, any way you want.
Okay,
All right, let's do roll call, because I think
that's fine.
we had them, yeah.
Okay.
All right, roll call. Kimberly?
I'd say aye.
Will?
I can,
Alyssa?
I on the condition that we set policies for next year.
Aye.
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, we can.
Bill?
Set policies in terms of,
No, you can't tell
Oh.
a future board what to do. You can recommend
I would recommend
Or
that
you
we
could-
correct
Or you could make a policy
tonight.
before we,
on next meeting.
yeah, next meeting.
Yeah, but you just can't say the next board.
I think we're up to Will.
Recuse, but I also agree with Alyssa's recommendation. And it's sad that we have to make that recommendation. by the
Correct.
way.
Based on the fact that there were allegations that I somehow influenced that vote by exercising my right to be a poll watcher for myself as a substitute for my planned poll watcher, one of my poll watchers, I will abstain from this vote. And anybody who felt intimidated, I can't apologize for my height and weight and the way I look, but I was told to sit someplace, and I did, and I smiled all day. If anybody feels they would like an apology from me, I'm more than willing to apologize if anybody felt, I don't want to say threatened, because I was threatened legally, but if anybody felt intimidated, I apologize. If somebody felt it was improper, I would just advise you to talk to an attorney, or I can advise you where there was nothing done improperly. So for all those reasons, I will abstain from certifying the ballot.
great. All right. So next, we're going to move into public comment. If any members of the public have any questions or comments, please raise your hand, wait to be called on by the board president, and then state your name. Dan, can you come up? Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Mrs. Givens, if I could just trouble you, I get complaints all the time that people can't hear. So if you just bring the mic down so that they can hear you at home, I appreciate it.
Sure. Dana Givens. I have been a loyal member of this Tuxedo community for 13 years, and I get very emotional, so I wasn't going to speak. I have to say that I am horrified by the display presented by a board member, Gary Hevner, with the way that he spoke yesterday. When I walked in to vote, I walked into a storm of Mr. Hevner berating the superintendent, with other voters following behind me. There was, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 people in the same vicinity. And I walked in and found out that that had already been taken outside because the same thing happened in the polling room. I've spoken to him about it. He apologized. But then I came here tonight and I immediately see him march in and start yelling at everyone. And I have the utmost respect for you and your profession and the fact that you're doing this as a volunteer. And as a friend, I'm horrified. I have 3 boys who I've raised to be gentlemen, and the conduct that I see is devastating to me. I don't think it has any place in the Tuxedo community. I don't understand why there's so much divisiveness. I understand that there's a good cop, bad cop issue going on here with the board. It makes me very sad. I know I only have 2 minutes. But there were definitely things that I saw personally yesterday that I thought were very embarrassing for our community. We want to bring people in and we want this to be a positive place, and it's just terrifying that we have to walk in and be intimidated by, yes, a rather large, normally lovely gentleman screaming and yelling.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman. As much as I appreciate what Mrs. Gibbons is saying, the singling out of single board members
He was the board member that was involved.
is not proper protocol here.
Should I be cut off on my 2 minutes, or is that against the?
No, I think you should address the chair directly and refrain from referencing any individual board members. And I don't know how you're going to do what you're doing without it. I understand that. But the protocol here is not to single out any individual board members.
So I
and to
can't say
address
what I witnessed?
And to address the chair.
So
The chair will address that.
I find, well, I'm a member of the community, a taxpayer, and I feel like I have an opinion, and it's valid, and I don't know why I can't call out horrible conduct when I see it. And I don't like the way that Gary was just walked into this meeting and started yelling at everyone again. I think that we could all learn a little love and appreciation from, like, the kindergarten at this point. It's not necessary. We all have to work together. We are supposed to be a community of love and understanding, and we're supposed to uplift our children. And how can we uplift our children if we're so divided amongst ourselves? It's crazy, and it's very, very, I literally want to cry my eyes out right now. I can't believe that I'm even having this conversation. And I wasn't going to until I saw what I saw when I was sitting here. And I really wish, it's unfortunate that the rest of the community doesn't get involved and doesn't see what goes on. But I wish the new electees luck, and I hope that you guys can seriously come together and realize that we have to move forward united. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's why I married her, by the way.
Okay, we are going to move on to the administrator's report, superintendent's report.
Okay, for the record, I've been moving quickly, so I'm going to be very brief right now because I know we've all had a late night last night. So I do want to thank the community for the support for our budget, for everyone who came out last night and approved the budget and the propositions. Our expenditure budget was approved by 2/3. The proposition for equalizing the board vacancies passed by 70%, and the capital project was the highest vote getter at 73%. So I do, again, want to thank the community for their support for the budget and the propositions. Today we attended the valedictorian and salutatorian celebration that was held at the Wallkill Country Club. Congratulations again to our valedictorian, Reggie Wanse, who's going to Binghamton, and Jake Sandak, who will be going to Ramapo College. Jake wants to be he's doing poli-sci, and hopefully will be an attorney. Maybe he can come back and help us with some of our issues here. And Reggie is going to go into computer science, so we wish them well on their journey. I also want to share that the elementary and secondary spring concerts went well last night, and the community, I think, really enjoyed it. And a big shout out to the PTO for the Tricky Tray raffle last night. I think everybody enjoyed and appreciated that. And I didn't get a chance to participate, so if there's still tickets, I'm happy to buy one. I was quite tied up yesterday, as you could all imagine. So, or many,
Gonna
whatever.
buy one?
So,
The concerts were excellent, both of them.
yes. And with that, back to you.
Oh, back to me. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Do I have, before we proceed, does anybody have any items for discussion?
I don't have it in front of me. I'd like to pull the business office report, the business reports out.
Before we do that,
Okay, so we're
That's
gonna,
in six,
yeah,
on
we're
five.
gonna do personnel
I
first.
withdraw.
Five is the occupational.
Yeah,
therapy stuff.
5-2. Let's
Yeah,
talk
5-2.
about that a little bit.
Okay, anything else? Okay, just,
Oh, the 6.5. Oh, no,
Okay, so
sorry,
this-
put personnel, yep.
personnel first. Okay, do I have a motion for discussion on 5.2?
I'll make the motion, yeah. Discussion 5-2.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait, nope, we're going to discuss it.
Right, of discussing.
Oh, okay.
Just pointing out for discussion. Okay. All right, so go ahead, Dan.
Thanks, yeah. The occupational therapist situation, I mean, that's mandated with, for many of our kids with IEPs, and I know it's been a while since we had an occupational therapist that left the district, and now we're putting this person on at a substitute pay per hour. Is a substitute, isn't that what that $55 an hour thing is?
No, well, it doesn't, they're not as a substitute, it's an approval for, through the end of June, at an hourly rate. Jeff? you
Will
can
they
take
be
it.
full-time?
Mr. Mehrhoff, would you like to take that one? So we have an occupational therapist who we accepted her resignation, I believe, was that last month? That was last month, yep. So Mr. Mehrhoff has to go through some procedures in order to hire for that position, and he is going to walk us through it right now.
So our former occupational therapist left to take a full-time job at BOCES. The position here is only a .8. This Miss Larger was the person who substituted for her when she was away at the beginning of the year. So we canvassed the civil service list. People
Which
did
you're
not-
required to do,
Which
right?
you're required to do by law. So we canvassed the civil service list. That's the amount that we put on the posting when we canvassed the civil service list. She accepted. She was reachable. Other candidates had said no. So she'll be joining us. And it's not a bad rate. It's an industry standard for this.
Yeah, no, it's,
And we also reached out to BOCES to see if they offered the service, and they said no.
Yeah.
So we had to do a couple of different procedures. So this is the soonest that we could get it on the agenda.
Did
Since she resigned last month, right?
did the person who resigned give us proper notice so that they give us the month before that they were leaving?
I believe she did, right?
She did.
Yeah, 30 days is the requirement.
So they would have let us know then in March, right?
No, it wasn't in March. It was in April.
Or April 8th meeting, sorry.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that. I'm talking about when she gave us the notice.
Yes, the former occupational therapist gave us notice. I believe it was in April. And her
Because if
last-
she gave it to us in April 18th, she would have just left 2 days ago. So she had to give us notice back in March.
No, it was approved at her resignation, I think, was approved at the April 8th board
Yeah.
meeting.
That was
Right.
approved last.
Right, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about, how much notice did
So,
we have?
So Dan, if let's just say she gave it to us April 1st or 2nd, we put it on the agenda for the April meeting, which was April 18th, was it? April 18th, yeah.
So the,
Effective for May 3rd.
so the
Right.
protocol would be for, if someone gives notice, you can't start looking until we, because I hate, this is such an important position, and I hate the fact that we,
Yeah, you're going months with it.
we were going
you're
without it.
months with
If someone gives us a notice today that they're leaving a month from now, and we need to start looking today.
Well, that's the process. They're required by law to give 30 days notice. Sometimes, in certain contracts, we could, request longer, but unfortunately, this is the way this one worked out. But parents were told, for children who had IEPs, that if there was any delay in service, that we would certainly make up for any services that they
Yes.
had
Any
didn't get in
missed-
the interim.
Any
yeah.
missed occupational therapy sessions will be made up by Miss Lager when she's here.
Right.
How many, I mean, what's the difference from when she actually left and when this person will not be beginning until we approve it, so tomorrow?
Right, the start of June, Ms. Lager will start if the board
Right,
approves
according
her.
to that, it'd be 6/1, right?
Yeah,
So
June
She'll-
1st.
She'll be in
Okay.
here on June
Yeah.
1st.
I believe so,
Sounds like you're
yes.
missing, we had 1 month without.
1 month.
Yes.
Right. And again, we did try for BOCES, which could have been right away. But
Right.
they don't offer that service, so then we're required to canvass the civil service list, which is what we did.
Do we conduct an exit interview? She was
Yes.
here for a
Mr.
long-
Mayorhoff
She was here
Yes.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Mrs. Seward.
She, I believe she was here 4 years. She loved Tuxedo, but it's a part-time
she was a
position. It was a part-time position for her, so.
And it was also
BOCES
closer to home.
It's
where
a lot
The new
closer.
job is very
Yeah.
close to home.
I think it's about 10 minutes from where she lives, she told me.
Yeah, she's lovely, and we're
Yeah.
sad to see her go.
For positions like this, occupational therapist, school psychologist, guidance counselor, those kinds of positions, can we make a policy that we begin to canvass the day after someone gives us notice? So, we're all hung up on the social, emotional, well-being of the kids and teaching, and that's what we're talking about. But if our process is keeping us from having these people for a month, then we need to change the process.
Well, I know we jumped on it right away. We reached right out to BOCES, Dan. I know that took place, and I think you called civil
We
service.
canvassed the social service list pretty quickly, but it takes them a while to get it to us.
get
I
your list,
understand
yeah.
what Dan's saying,
Yeah.
but, Dan, okay, say this happened in April. She told them in April she's leaving. He immediately starts looking for everything. Our meeting is April 18th. We're told at our meeting she's leaving, and he says, you know what? She's leaving, but I found this great person. Approve it tonight. You know what has happened in the past with our board is that everybody says, wait a minute, we didn't have enough time to review everything.
Depends on the position. Like when Dr. Jean Paul, I mean, the night that Jeff walked in with that, I'm like all for it, because we got to have somebody down there, and if he's going to vouch for Dr. Jean Paul, then great. So it depends on the position. It's just it's different than, the kids miss algebra for 2 weeks,
No, well, I don't think anybody should miss anything
Yeah,
in
I
this
hear
school.
you,
But, no, I agree. And then at least we could just say, we're unprepared to approve the new person anyway, and we could just move it to the next meeting.
I think the next board should meet weekly, and then you won't have this timing issue.
Oh, my God.
No, don't say that.
Sounds like a good idea.
I agree with Bill's
Bill.
recommendation.
Bill, don't say that.
Okay,
Nice
so
kick on the way out.
sorry.
Every Friday night?
I apologize.
So, will this person be working the same number of hours at .8? Will there be more? It will fluctuate?
It will
depending on
fluctuate
that?
because she's going to make up any missed sessions. And I know the school psychologist reached out to the parents, and from what I understand, the parents were fine with it. Because they're familiar with her. She worked with all their children before, so I think it's a win-win for Tuxedo that she's gonna come back for us.
Okay, that's wonderful. And then, will we be starting a new search for the fall, or will
Over,
this be part of this search?
over the summer in July, I'll post again for the position, and yes,
She doesn't want to stay with us?
I think she does.
Okay.
But we want to be EOE, so we'll post
Okay.
again in July, and
Okay,
hopefully it'll be her.
thank you.
All right.
And the hours are determined by the IEPs, correct, Mr. Mayorhoff?
The services that an occupational therapist or a physical therapist provides to children are all determined by an IEP.
And that's determined by the CSE.
The CSE determines that.
That's not me. I don't
No.
make that decision. Mr. Mayorhoff doesn't make that decision. The chairman of the Special Education Committee is the one who decides
Yes.
that. For each kid.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion on this position?
Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the personnel consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, moving on to the consent agenda for business. Are there any items that anybody would like to pull for discussion?
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Sure. What do you got, Bill?
Hey, just quick question. Looking at the budget, I see there's 208,000 left with just over an eighth of the year left. I know it's a
So,
month and a half. Are
Brian?
we confident that all encumbrances are in, everything, because that seems pretty tight.
Yeah, it is very tight. Brian, have you done a fund balance projection, or do you want to have that for June? Actually, just a heads up for everybody, remember, June is when we do our financial planning, and we're required to do by law. So, I know, for example, that, if there's any additional revenues or what have you, we need to get board approval in June. We have to get pre-approval to say that should we have extra money, which I don't think we're going to have, but just to be careful, we're going to say we want authorization to fund the reserves up to certain amounts. And so we'll be coming back with that in June, but he'll have a better fund balance projection. What do you think now, Brian? I know you were busy with the budget, but do you have a fund balance projection for the rest of this year yet?
Yeah, we do have a rough draft. We can circulate that in the next meeting. But there are a couple of items that aren't going to be encumbered yet in this number, such as Medicare reimbursement, is a big one. And as you know, we've had some new expenses throughout the year, such as additional security. So, I mean, you're right, it's going to be razor thin.
Are we worried that we're going to end up in a deficit?
Well, remember, we budgeted a deficit. We're using appropriated fund balance, as we do every year. And we've got to stop that, because we are running out of money. We have to balance the budget. So it is going to be razor thin, just as next year's budget is razor thin as well. We only put, maybe 100,000 for a potential new special ed student. One student alone can completely blow that out of water.
Right up.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
Okay, thank you.
alrighty.
Okay, any other points of discussion?
Just a little clarification, 6.4.
Okay.
The services that are being offered to the kids up at TPS, this is just basic physicals, every
Yeah,
annual physicals?
Well, this is standard.
Standard stuff, okay.
Even though
And
ki-
they're happy with it? I mean,
Yeah.
we've received no complaints on.
No, they,
standard
for example,
fare. Okay.
their nurse, they hired, but it's our employee.
Okay.
So, for private schools, if folks think that they don't get anything for their taxes, they do. They get transportation, they get health services, they get textbooks,
Just wanted to make sure that we haven't received any complaints in the past about any of the services contractors that were engaged.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the business consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What time is that meeting going to be in the 26th?
It'll be regular time.
7 o'clock?
Yeah,
Is it
Okay.
gonna, okay.
yeah, right, if that is.
Yeah,
I
that's-
would assume.
Okay.
It's up to you folks. You guys want 7, you want 6:30? What's your preference?
Can we do earlier?
26th of
6:30 is going to be the exact same thing. I
Yeah,
get here
it's
right
tight for me,
around
too.
6. It's like tight. I thought I'd be here.
Let's not get you-
It was a late night, we
Last
wanted
night.
to,
Okay.
shave off a half an hour.
Make it regular.
Okay,
So we'll keep it at 7 o'clock on the
Yeah.
26th.
Yeah,
June 26th.
Yep,
great,
That's our June meeting?
yep.
It was
Our
the
last
19th
one.
and the 20th.
Okay. 7 p.m.
Okay.
Okay, so next up, we have new business. May I have a motion for the acceptance of computers, projector, and LCD TV from Create?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. May I have a motion to enter into executive session, for the purpose of collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
Do we know which of those we're actually doing?
Those are the
Two.
items.
Those are the 2 items.
two
Out of
items
the,
that we are-
out of the,
For public, what are the odds of us taking action afterwards, just for the public watching
Yeah,
this? Okay. So we can't promise, but it's unlikely any
Right.
action will be taken.
Right.
okay.
Thoughtful.
Motion.
Second?
Aye.
Who did second?
Second?
Oh, sorry, second. I thought somebody said second.
I did motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good?
Make a motion to return to executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty.
Thank you, folks. You too, huh?
Oh, my God.
I was gonna say, good,
No, that,